this is just for you. I am here to do a little reading for you of a piece of the book. So I'm going to actually read to you some pages from the very last chapter of the book, and there will be some cussing in this chapter, so buckle in for that. So grab yourself a cup of coffee, and I'm going to do a little reading for you so you get a little sneak peek of the last chapter of the book. And I am going to leave you hanging. So just so you know ahead of time. All right. So this chapter is called Don't Waste a Good Crisis, Endings and New Beginnings. I was beginning to acknowledge defeat. I desperately wanted to save my marriage. I wanted nothing more than for my story to end in renewal, hope, and restoration. I had worked as hard as I knew how in my own therapy, making hard choice after harder choice, all in the hope and belief that miracles could and would happen. I had stood at the fork of the road and risked it all on the possibility of resurrection. Instead of miracles, however, I saw the mundane same old of addiction and dysfunction day in and day out. And yet, long after everyone around me was saying enough already, I continued to hold out, waiting to see if things would change. Until finally, even my ride or die self had to acknowledge that my relationship was not salvageable. Not if I wanted to keep me, not if I wanted to honor the self I had worked so hard to discover and to rescue, not if I wanted to live in the light of truth, honesty, and the integrity of being whole. I did not move quietly into acceptance. I did not go down without a fight. One of the biggest fights of my life, in fact, and if you are going to have a big fight, you might as well have it with a big being. So I chose my higher power, which is God for me, to rumble with about the loss of my dream. One day, at the start of this fight, I sat across from my therapist, a woman who had walked me through the past few years of my life, patiently unwinding the layers of lies, shame, and betrayal that I had been wrapped in. I crossed my arms, glared at her, and said, I am so angry that I need a new word for anger. Rage is not even big enough. I am jumping up and down and spitting mad with every fiber of my fucking being. Normally, I loved this woman. Today, I hated her. She was just another part of the grand betrayal I was experiencing. I told her, I have done everything right. I have made hard choices. I have been honest. I have not sought revenge. I have tried to offer grace in the face of abject cruelty. I have done my part, even though it has made my teeth hurt. And what do I get in return? I get the ending of my marriage. After all my sacrifice and hard work, what I get is a divorce. I am pissed at God. I am pissed at you. I am pissed at everyone. I sat back, arms crossed, tears streaming down my face, wrapped in a fury so deep I was shaking with it. At the bottom of my rage and anger, I felt tricked, duped by a healing process that asked me to offer understanding to my addicted spouse, to take responsibility for my own healing, to look unflinchingly into the dark corners of my own heart, to grasp with both hands the truth of my own deep worth and lovability in the face of mountains of rejection. Now, as the finale to the drama that had been my relationship, the curtain was going to come down on my marriage. Ta-da! This was unacceptable to me. Every cell in my body screamed in protest about the unfairness of what was happening. Somewhere deep inside, I thought that if I were a good girl, if I did what was right, if I did what was hard, if I stayed the course, I would be worthy of the outcome I wanted. I think I thought I could earn my marriage. Turns out this is not how life or relationships work. To suddenly discover that I was losing my marriage, and even worse, that I was the one who was going to have to walk away, shattered my entire paradigm. I felt like I was being stripped of everything I wanted. Instead of healing, I was getting destruction. Instead of restoration, brokenness. Instead of resurrection, death. This was not how it was supposed to work, and I was undone by my confusion and outrage. My Yoda therapist listened to me and looked at me with clarity and confidence in her eyes. My anger did not ruffle her one bit, and she sat with openness and attentiveness while I unloaded my cart full of grievances. And then she said, Michelle, it is your turn right now. You need to say everything you have to say. Let it all out. Do not hold anything back. Be as angry and enraged as you need to be. Say everything you need to say. God can handle it, and so can I, so say it all. I listened to this and I believed her, partly because I had no way to keep it in. My anger was boundless and no dam could hold it. My type A efforts had availed me nothing. So what did I have to lose if I let God know how I really felt about the very bad job he or she was doing? And then Yoda spoke again. This time she said, when you are done, when you've said everything you need to say, then it will be God's turn. God will show up and meet you in some way. I do not know how, but God will show up and touch you, and you will perhaps have a limp to show for it. She was referring to the story of Jacob in the Old Testament. I will not recap the whole thing here. You can Google it if you're curious. The micro version is that Jacob had a wrestling match with God that left him with a limp for the rest of his life, a permanent reminder of what had passed between him and his creator. The idea that God would hit me with a limp fit right into my understanding at that time of God as a punishing, unfair, unjust, and unloving being. So I looked my therapist in the eyes and said, let God bring it. I walked out of her office that day, climbed into my Jeep Wrangler, and commenced taking my turn. When I am angry, I cuss like a trucker, and also when I'm being funny. This, however, was all about fury, pure, white-hot rage. I drove my Jeep over the bridge towards Seattle and let my anger fly. Fuck you, God. Fuck you. You are stripping me of everything I want. That is not love. If this is love, then fuck you. Keep your goddamn love. You're going to show up and talk to me? I dare you. I dare you to have something to say to me in the face of all that has happened here. I fucking dare you. For the next several weeks, I drove around with the top off my Jeep, looking skyward and ranting my pain and anger at a God who I felt was just like my husband, a big fat betrayer. Eventually, I ran out of words and I ran out of steam. The anger moved through me and left me with sadness and grief as I faced this final impending loss. The last one in a long, heart-wrenching stream of losses that had gone before it. I moved on with the task of making decisions. My focus shifted and my anger faded into the background as other things arose that needed my attention. Until. And I'm going to leave it there. I told you I was going to leave you with a cliffhanger. So that is just a little taste of the last chapter of the book. I hope you've enjoyed getting a little sneak peek. And we're going to put the link below. If you have not pre-ordered your copy, get on it. Get on it. It is there, whether you want the paperback or the digital one. You can pre-order it now. All right. Take care, y'all.